Welcome everyone, my name is Jeff St Laurent and this is the Live Tuesday call, and we got a great one for you today. They're all great, I'll say, but today is it's special in the sense that I've got a special guest, one of my brand new clients on, Gerald Vance from Florida, and I'm going to bring him on in a second and introduce him. So he's going to stay in the bullpen for a little bit, warming up, ready to go, and today's topic is basically how to turn a Facebook ad lead into a paying client. And I'll get into a little bit more about what we're going to do in just a minute, but just a few logistics to get started. As you know, I record all these calls and I post them on my website in my Selling Coaching University. So it's sellingcoaching.com. Go to the university and you can check out all my recorded calls. We cracked 70 calls a couple weeks ago, so we're well on the way. And it just, for all those coaches out there who are looking to start something, whether it be a podcast or a call or a webinar or whatever it is, you know, I didn't get to 70 plus calls overnight. You know, how did I do it? I did it one call at a time. And that's just hopefully something to motivate you, inspire you to say, hey, you know what? I can do that too. And it's just, you do it every week. And that's a consistency of what we do in our business. And not only does that serve your clients, it educates them, builds value for what you do. You can get clients that way. But it also gives you that authority and credibility when people show up at your website and or like a YouTube channel, etc. Even your, a Facebook page or something like that, social media, and you have those types of resources, it does give you that authority and that credibility. And that's why, part of the reasons why I do these consistent Tuesday calls, above and beyond also serving you, my people, as I help coaches transition to a full-time business. So with that being said, you can check out the university. Also, another great resource right on my website, sellingcoaching.com. At the top of every page, you'll see a little banner that says Join My Private Facebook Group. Again, a fantastic group if you want to consider checking that out if you're not a member already. I love to use that group for my clients and then also other members to a place, kind of give them a voice where they can use video and or other means to start to express their message. And so it's a great community. Also, I get to interact with you, and so I get to meet a lot of people. So with that being said, lastly, right on my homepage of sellingcoaching.com, I've got a great resource also. It's the ultimate startup guide for new coaches. So if you enter your name and email from there, not only will you receive that guide, it's an audio and it's also a PDF. Great guide, but also that puts you on my email community. And the reason I say that especially is because I want you to be able to start to see how I use my emails. So many coaches that I work with one-on-one mentoring in my groups, you know, they have this impression of email marketing and, you know, they're on email lists, etc. And, you know, if you're on there, you're on there and you want to be on there. But a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't really read this stuff. I just end up deleting it. And it's a lot of automated stuff. And where I'm coming from is I want to teach you that it shouldn't be all automated, and it shouldn't be like a monthly newsletter. It should be, you know, multiple weekly emails where you're having conversations with your audience. So I want you to be on there as well so you can start to role model that for your own business. But with that being said, I want to jump right into this. And today is, like I said, the topic, it's how to turn a Facebook ad lead into a paying client. And one of my paying clients that just got on board with me, I'd probably say a couple weeks ago now. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through kind of from him, you know, getting my Facebook ad, and that's where I'm going to have him come in and just be like, okay, so what were you doing and what did you see? And we're just going to create a dialogue from there. And my whole hopes on this is to give you the side from, if you will, from marketing to qualifying to, let's say, a complimentary session to paying client. So you can actually see it live in action for real. Like there's no edits here. There's no, oh, let's not talk about that. Or like I said, this call is completely unscripted. I just said, hey, Gerald, want to get on the call? And here's the thing that we're following along with, our interaction emails from start to finish, and let's do it. He's like, sure, why not? So I've also done a few of these before that are in my university. In the search, if you type in how to, how to turn, that's kind of keywords. I've got, I think, like 3 more of these I did with other clients. Great calls. This is really live teaching here. So we're going to start from the Facebook ads. So for those of you that are following along, obviously if you listen to the recording, it's right in front of you. For those of you following along, the first page there is on the PDF is the actual Facebook ad that I run. And just to give you a little background, I've been running this ad currently now for about, let's say it's about a year and a half. and I run that every day. I have a $10 a day budget, which is typically the minimum budget recommended, at least by my Facebook mentor, the one who helped me design this, for running this ad. And I obviously run it specifically to coaches, part of the advantage of knowing our market. And, from there, it's going out to people that are like coaching pages, right? So that's how it's going to get in front of them, and it shows up on their news feed. And if you've been on Facebook, you've probably seen some sponsored ads before. And with this ad, my goal is obviously is if you can look at it, I'm targeting new coaches, and it's just what I do. It's the ultimate startup guide for coaches transitioning to full time. This is the same free offer or resource that I offer on my website, sellingcoaching.com. But in this case, I'm just running an ad on Facebook and hoping to grow and attract coaches. Over the lifetime of this ad, I've invested to date, and I'm going to double check my math right now, actually. But if I've been doing this for 18 months, and let's just say times $300 a month, it's about $5,400 I've spent on this ad so far. And literally just this past week, I converted 2 clients from that, and then a couple weeks ago when I got Gerald as well, converted him. So right away, that's $6,000. And over the lifetime of it, if my math's correct from my spreadsheet that I have, I've converted $12,000 worth of paid clients and other products, or some group mentoring clients as well, from that $5,400 investment. So of that marketing ad, not to mention the hundreds of people that have come into my group and or my email community as a result of that. If you will, I'd say the future value clients, meaning the people that I'm interacting with, who are getting on these calls, listening to these recordings, who hopefully when the time is right, I might be that mentor coach for them, assuming that they require some of that help. So I can't stress enough, I'm not promoting Facebook ads to say, oh, you've got to do them, but more importantly, rather just saying, finding sources of marketing. Again, there's free and paid marketing. I found that if you target it pretty well and you're consistent enough with it, and then obviously the qualification part on it, it's not just, oh, it's easy to get. There's some work involved that I'm going to show you today, but it's definitely a source for getting leads and growing your audience. But of course, you've got to build the relationships with them. So with that being said, I'm running this ad, and I'm going to turn it over to Gerald just to kind of say, hey, Gerald, what just a kind of summary, what was going on, where you're kind of looking through Facebook and, kind of like what stopped you on this? What drew your attention, and kind of take us from there. So go ahead.
Okay. I was at the point where I was getting serious about my coaching business, and I was Google searching, not necessarily coaching, but coaching for myself. And I guess the analytics pushed it over to Facebook, and there were tons and tons and tons of "let me be your coach" ads, and I skipped right by them. Another marketing gimmick, just skip. One evening I was sitting surfing Facebook, and Jeffrey's ad came across, and that's one that I could not pass up. And the reason I couldn't pass Jeffrey's ad up was the picture that he had up. At first, not exactly what you said, Jeffrey, but your picture. It looked warm, it looked inviting, and it made me intrigued. I wanted to click it, if nothing else, to see what this guy was about. So I clicked on it and realized, okay, he's a coach. He wants to help me. He's a coach's coach. So at this point, I knew I needed a mentor. I knew I needed a coach to go to the next level with my business, but I wasn't prepared to invest in myself until I read Jeffrey's ad, until I actually opened it up.
And let me stop you for a second. I'm just curious. But this is the important piece about the ad itself. So you were obviously liking and in different coaching groups and different pages. So you were getting a bunch of, like you said, Facebook ads that were targeted to people like you, right, to help you grow your coaching business, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And you're saying what drew you to mine was just my picture, right? It wasn't the text. It was just a picture of me. Is that correct?
I didn't even read the text. I just saw the picture of you, and you had an inviting smile, like someone that I would approach for directions if I were lost. Just an average guy. You didn't come across as arrogant. There was no ego involved. And this is all just from your picture. Once I clicked on the picture, then I got into the ad.
Right.
But if it wasn't for your background, your picture, I would have passed you up as well.
Interesting. This is what I want people to hear, right? And me to hear too, right? So what was it, if you can remember, if anything, about the other ads that just had you scan over them?
They looked gimmicky to me.
Yeah, describe a little bit more about that.
Okay, they looked like they dressed up for their picture, and that's not them on a day-to-day basis. And I guess the main thing I'm trying to say is they seemed too good to be true.
Interesting.
And I just wanted to pass them up. I wasn't even interested in what they had to say. They may have been great coaches, but they had the wrong picture up.
Interesting.
And I'm an average guy. So everybody that is seeing their ad, I would say a good majority of them just pass them up. They just seem too good to be true. Kind of a car salesman type picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like they're trying to create an ad almost, like they're trying to sell you something. They're trying to get your attention almost.
Very forced, yes.
Awesome. So mine was just, it's more of just authentic, down to earth, real, inviting, warm.
Yes. And it wasn't complicated. A lot of the other ads were very complicated, their backgrounds, and they tried to put all kinds of information into the picture, and it just complicated it. In your ad, if I remember,
it's right in front of you, right? It's just right in front of you, that picture right there. That's why I put that in there.
Let me bring it. Yep. There you are against a wooden wall. To me, it looked like a barn setting. So it was rustic. It was down to earth. And then your smile is genuine. You've got your hands in your pockets, which says, hey, I'm comfortable. I'm not going to be pushy, but I do have a lot of information to share. And your eyes in the picture convey that. If you choose me as your coach, I have experience and knowledge to share with you, and I'm not going to be pushy.
Awesome. This is great insight. So for everybody, when you're thinking about this, whatever you're doing, whenever I work with my mentoring clients as well, it's like when we're creating something, whether it's a post or anything, it's just be yourself, right? We don't need any stock photography and for those of you even like taking pictures and photo shoots, and trust me, I've done it all. And this photo shoot, if you will, was my iPhone 6. I'm going out to eat with my family, and I'm like, to my brother, I'm like, oh, I need some photos, for my website and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't like the ones that I have. I just need something real. And this is at a restaurant, and this is in the back. I saw the wooden wall, and I'm like, this wooden wall is awesome. It just looked, naturally weathered and real. And I like the color, contrasting with my shirt. And then on the side of the building, it was too bright with the sun, and it was casting shadows. So we went in the back, and literally maybe like 5 feet off to my left is a dumpster, right? So it's just to show you, like, my brother, I'm like, hey, just, move me off to the right or left-hand side. So if I'm going to write some words, my website, whatever. And I'm like, just tilt the camera a little here and there, take 5, 6, 7, 8 pictures, and great, let's go eat some food. And literally that's all it has to be. It doesn't cost anything, and just make it real. So just kind of giving you the feedback on my end. So now, Gerald, you clicked on the ad, you got to there. What made you opt in? Take us from there real quick, of just like, okay, I saw this guy, so I opt in, enter my name and email address. What happens from there?
Okay, well, at that point, once I opted in, I seen that, okay, he is a mentor for coaches, which is what I want to be. So I started the free audio. You had an audio up, and I actually wanted to just click on it and hear your tone of voice. I wanted to hear if you were sincere in delivering your message, and get off. A couple minutes and I would be gone. And I ended up listening to the entire 60 minutes of audio, because everything that you were saying in the audio touched on what I wanted to do. So before I even met you, well, other than the Facebook ad and the picture, and your tone of voice was calm, you delivered a good message, and I wanted to know more. I felt like if I jumped on a plane and flew up to Mass and found you, I'd be like, hey, Jeff, I'm Gerald. You want to have a cup of coffee? And we could do it.
Yeah.
And that's the tone of the audio. Like we were sitting in a coffee shop and you were just delivering a message like, hey, I can help you. I have information that you need to start your business. And you weren't trying to sell me your mentorship. You were providing your assistance with mentoring. So then I emailed you.
Yeah. So let's take it from here, right? So here's the thing, right? So that's the thing I want to say about like when we're doing a free offer, because I got a lot of mentored clients I'm working with, even you and I, Gerald, right? We're working together, right? We're creating our free offer now, the thing about it is, with those, it's just like, just speak to people, and we've got to know our audience. And this always also goes back to really knowing who we're helping with what specifically, because if we know our audience, like Gerald said, like when he started listening to my audio, it was like, oh, wow, like not only liked the pacing and the tone, etc., but the information was relevant. That's the key, is that information is relevant, and I'm educating, just like on this call. I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything, right? I'm showing you the real stuff, right? And that's what I want people to do, is I want you to educate your people. And when you educate your people, it builds value for what you do. So now what I'm going to do is, for everyone following along, we're going to go to the second thread. The first thread, the one that says number 1. So if you do that on your PDF, and this one here is my autoresponder. So it says, original message, my autoresponder. This is the message that automatically goes out once Gerald enters his name and email address. It goes into my Aweber account, and then Aweber sends this message that you see right here that says Gerald, and then boom, that's what's automatically sent to him, right? And this is an automatic email, but that's my way of following up and getting in front of people. And I believe this is the second message that I send in my autoresponder series, which means the first email that goes out is the one that says, hey, I'm so glad you downloaded, the Ultimate Startup Guide for New Coaches. Click the links below to get your audio and then the PDF. This email is the second email that goes out the next day. And if you see the subject line says, did you listen to the download yet? And then it gives you some information right there. And then at the end, it says, when you get a chance to listen, I'd love to hear your thoughts and how it was relevant for you as a new coach.
There's something with you on this autoresponder.
Yes.
I saw your picture. It was intriguing enough. You were genuine. That pushed me to actually listen to the audio, or at least give it a chance. The message you were delivering was to the right audience with the right tone of voice, so I listened to all of it. Here's what I want to share. I probably, knowing me, would not have responded back to you. It was just good information, and it was a feel-good moment, and it gave me a spark of hope. And then guess what? This email shows up, your autoresponder. And I'm like, you know what? This guy is so genuine. He wants to know. And if nothing else, I can email him and give him some feedback on his marketing strategy. And that's where it all started. At this point, I still had no intentions of hiring you as my mentor. But this one autoresponder email made me want to email you back. And I did.
And it made you want to clarify again why?
At this point, the autoresponder email, once I had already listened to your message, and it just gave me a feel-good moment that I can do this, and there is genuine help out there. And I really had no intentions of reaching out to you until I got this autoresponder. And once I got the autoresponder, I thought, this guy Jeffrey is serious about his business. He is taking the next step to see what I thought about it. In fact, you said, I would love to hear your thoughts on how it was relevant to you as a new coach. And I'm like, yep. Great, let me email Jeffrey back. It made me want to give you some feedback. If nothing else, just give you feedback on your marketing strategy.
Perfect. And this is good. This is what I want people to know is, and this is the challenge that I see with a lot of coaches that send autoresponders, is they send an autoresponder and then it could be however long. There's one message they send, or 10, 20 consecutive ones over the next several months. And what coaches typically do, or marketers, if I would say, is they start to sell you. They start to say, hey, now that you've got this, here's this paid thing that, you should take a look at. And they start to sell you on things. When I do these autoresponders, and when I work with my mentoring clients, like Gerald, I just sent you a template of my autoresponder right yesterday when we had our call, right? So I've designed these autoresponders here. I'm just writing an email. Granted, it's automatic, just these first 4, because I can't follow up with everyone that subscribes from the download. Obviously, then they get on my email community, and then I'm active on that. Those of you that are on there know that, so then they're just plugged into that. But these I've written just as if I were to respond to them personally. And if you notice, it's not a lot. It's basically 3 sentences broken up, into different paragraphs. And it's just me being curious, did you get a chance to listen? Even the subject line, I'm not creative. It's like, did you listen to the download yet? Right? And I'm following up with people. And I say, hey, I realize it's not your average download. It's 60 minutes of audio, but I wanted to give you something of value, take a chance to listen. Love to hear from you. And that's the type of autoresponder I want to share with people, is just follow up with them. And I do get responses from this. People do respond. And the whole objective of doing this, just so you know, my strategy, if you will, is it's great if they, are on my email list, and they got my offer, but I want them in the first at least 4 days, I know, while I've got their attention, I want them to make sure that download it and to consume it. Because I know if someone consumes this, I know what I've offered someone is very valuable. And if they consume it, then they're more likely to interact with me. And if they can interact with me, it doesn't mean they're going to hire me necessarily, but it just means that if anything, now I've got a fan. And I'm not necessarily looking for a client. Of course, I'd love a client, as we all would, but I want to build a relationship and have a fan. And therefore, now that person's more likely to stay with me longer. So then if the timing is right and I'm that person for them, they're more likely in hiring me or doing something with me. So that came in, and the dates are highlighted on that first thread, right? It says March 25th at basically 6 p.m. So then he wrote back to me, if we're going to go to the second one now, if you're following along. So what was that, the 25th? So the next day, the 26th, you stayed up late that day, right? At 12:50 a.m. And I'm showing you the time threads because I want to show you time frames and follow-up, because those things are important. And basically, not to read the whole thing, but I highlighted a few things, but basically him saying, I listened to the download, the hour passed by so quickly. And these are, I'm going to say my point of view, what I'm reading for here is, okay, wow, this guy listened to the whole thing, and he wrote something. If you can see, it's well written. It's some detail, thanks to the information, amazingly rich in value. Like he said, I've downloaded things in the past, but some other info in the past that he's downloaded. Want people to do something like you said, reinvent gravity, right? Like something impossible, but it's like, hey, yours provided practical information, So I'm looking at this thinking like, wow, he's really valuing what I'm offering here. He's enrolling in a coaching school. I happen to have gone to that coaching school, and it's no surprise because part of who I run my Facebook ad to are people that like that coaching school's page. So it's going to show up in front of those people, and that's intentional marketing, right? That's how when you identify an audience, that's how you can get your information in front of them. And now here's the part I want to highlight here in the second paragraph. I bolded it. It said, I want to talk with an actual coach so I can develop a realistic plan for my coaching business, right? These are the things that I'm looking for in terms of what he's writing me that I want to follow up on, and then he wants to exceed his own expectations. The other thing I bolded, it says, I realize the best way to do this is to use successful systems and methods in my coaching personality and surround myself with successful people. It seems a bit daunting, but far from impossible. So I'm getting insight in terms of how he's feeling and what he's wanting. And now he asked me a question. Will you share some advice with me about what I've been doing while I wait for this course to begin? I appreciate anything you want to share. So if you notice, my time frame, and I'm just going to go to, before I go on to that, let me ask you this, Gerald. When you wrote this to me, What were your intentions of this email?
The intentions of this email was to give you insight on the audio that I had listened to 6 hours prior. But then in the end, I wanted more information from you. Will you share some advice with me about what I can be doing while I wait? You were someone that I trusted to get information from.
Interesting. So keep going.
And that was important to me because this is my business. This is my livelihood. It's my life and my kids' life. So I'm not just going to take advice from anybody. But our relationship up until this point was your picture. I trusted you. I would trust you to sit down at my dinner table. Then I read or I listened to your audio. Hey, my kid could listen to this and understand it. It was simple. It was practical. What I really, really liked about your audio was when I mentioned, other people, they're trying to want you to reinvent gravity. My reasoning behind that was there's a system out there, and everybody seemed to be before you was me. These are my ideas. This is my invention. I created this monster. And I can show you how to do it too, but it's so complicated. Unless you pay me, you're not going to get the information.
Interesting.
That's what I meant by that. So I just wanted to give you some feedback. Like, hey, your ad's working, man. It's going good. And you intrigued me, but I still wasn't ready to pay you.
Yes, and that's what I want to get to. At this point, and I want to get inside the mind of a buyer, right? At this point, had hiring me in any way crossed your mind?
No.
On it said, hadn't crossed your mind like, oh, I could hire Jeff and work with him.
Yes, it had crossed my mind that you would, if I were to hire a coach, you would be the guy that I would do it.
Okay, but actually doing it with me, you hadn't thought like, oh, I want to hire Jeff, or like I might even consider working with him. It'd just be more of.
Not at this point, but I did take this information to my wife and say, hey, here, I want you to sit down and look at this for a second because I like the way this guy delivers his message. And it's a message that I can apply to us.
This is good to understand, like we've got the trust piece, but you're not there yet, and you're asking for some advice, etc. So now let's go to the third one here. And if you notice, the second one, you wrote me at 12:50 a.m. on Friday. And then that same day, later on in the afternoon, basically 4 p.m., I wrote back. And I remember Friday, that day, I was booked with clients. So I had my morning workout, and then I probably had like 5 or 6 clients, and that's probably like the end of my day. So probably first chance I'm really getting to respond and think about what I respond. So just so you know, if you notice my responses, this is all very intentional if you're looking at the third thread here. If you notice, I space out almost everything, so it's very easily read, and my thoughts are very distinct. I want you guys to notice those things. I also don't write a lot. My objective here is to kind of just, I start off, hey, thanks so much for your kind words. I'm thrilled you see so much value, right? I'm kind of redoing what he's saying to me, but it's just like, hey, thanks. I appreciate it. And then obviously it's great you're going to IPEC in July. That's the school, incredible school. And just kind of going through some of the things he said. I want to show him that I took the time to read it and just kind of summarize the important points. And say, hey, you seem very serious about creating a full-time business and driven to do so. And yeah, it can be daunting, but with the proper people and guidance, it's more than possible. And I'm going off of some of the things that he said, that, what he's looking for and what he needs. And part of why I'm saying something like that as well is like, yeah, it can be daunting, because I saw from what he was writing that like, yeah, there's a lot involved, right? But he believes it's possible, and I want to reinforce that point. And obviously by capitalizing, more than possible, I'm able to just show him that, yeah, I agree with you. Now here's the important point, right? As for what you can be doing, right? I could go, we could go in any direction. But I'm trying to figure out at this point, and here's my mindset is I'm like, okay, here's someone who obviously, is serious about what they're doing. They really want to do it. They value me and trust me. It's obvious from the things that he's saying. In my mind, I need to find out. I'm like, wow, here's a perfect candidate for a mentor coaching client. But I don't want to assume that. I need to find out a little bit more about not if he's interested in working with me, but rather how need and timing. Those of you that listen to me, right? Selling is all about need and timing. So I need to first go into the need and timing. So I want you to show you this. This is where I go into it. It says, as for what you could be doing, it depends on how quickly you want to get started with your business, as you don't have to wait to begin that. This coaching school will teach you how to coach, but it doesn't have to stop you from laying the foundation. So I'm just asking the question, tell me more about what you're thinking. Because he asked me such a broad question, give me some advice. And I'm just like, okay, tell me a little bit more. And again, this is Friday the 26th at 3:53 p.m. We go to the fourth one right now, and he wrote back almost a couple hours later. I was going to say, Gerald, add to that and take us to the next one.
Okay, on number 3, you validated every thought that I had. You actually read my email and validated what I was thinking. So I knew that you read the email and you seen what was important to me out of that. I get wordy sometimes when I write, but you took the main points out and validated it. And then you, at the very end, said, tell me more about what you're thinking. And we as humans want to communicate. Like, oh, this guy wants to know what else I'm thinking. Great. So on Friday, I emailed you back.
And give me an idea of just kind of like when you're emailing me back, what are you thinking at this point?
Okay, with email number 3, I'm already checking my budget. Email number 4, you can see that I start talking about my future as a coach and what it can give me if I listen to you. So number 4, I'm checking the budget. Number 3, I was checking the budget.
Yeah, why are you checking the budget at that point? What changed? Because what changed from the autoresponder response to you emailing me and then here? Why do you start checking your budget on 3?
I start checking my budget on number 3 because I know that you are someone with experience. And if I was to hire you as my mentor, I already see by the points that you put in number 3 email, you listen and you're validating and you're answering questions that I had. So I'm checking the budget like, okay, this would be a guy that I could potentially work with.
Interesting.
Number 4,
that's really good.
In number 4, I'm spending money. I'm already convincing my wife that, okay, this is going to happen. And I think you can tell by the tone, I haven't read this email in a while, but by the tone of that email, I'm getting friendly with you. I'm using LOLs and ha-ha-has and here's what I want. So I'm getting, between 3 and 4 was only a few hours, but I'm already getting personal with you. And I hope you picked up that on number 4, on Friday, May 26th, I was spending money already. You just didn't know it yet.
Yeah, and this is the things we want to pick up. So when I write here in number 4, I highlight, the first sentence, I'm very serious about coaching. So now I know his need at least for his business. It sounded it, but I'm reconfirming, right? And not only that, he says, here's why I want to do it for several reasons, right? His family and taking vacations, so forth and so on. So he's really sharing those things. But also, in the next paragraph, like, yeah, he is getting personal, but it's hey, it's going to provide the type of lifestyle for me, right? So he's talking about lifestyle and family, and not only those his visions, but you can tell he's that lifestyle guy, and he's a family man, and it's bigger than a business and earning money. It's not just, I want to earn money, but it's, I want to have a great business because I want to hear the things I want to be able to do. So it's anchored to some big things. And here's the point. I in the 3rd paragraph, I bolded, taking your advice from the downloaded audio, it sounds as if I need a mentor. You seem to have a handle on the market. And here's where it says, what do you charge what do you charge to mentor ambitious fellas, right? So yeah, that's the key right there is, hey, when someone starts to ask you a question, hey, how much do you charge? Tell me more about your coaching. These are the questions that you want to pick up on to say like, yeah, those aren't questions to answer, but they're questions to say, yes, they're interested in potentially working with me, right? And you're confirming that, then yes, this is where you're starting to spend the money. And you also say after that, if you're interested, I'm open to an interview. I'd like to be speaking with you someday, so forth and so on. So yeah, you did confirm that on your end. Anything to add on this before we move on? Perfect. Yeah. So now here's what I want you to notice. This is a really powerful email. So Friday, May 26th at 5:29 p.m. Those of you that are students of mine know that I'm just like, hey, you follow up, as soon as possible. And to date, right, my follow-ups have been very, very close. If you go to the number 5 thread, this was from May 26th, Friday at 5:29 p.m. When I respond back, it's Wednesday, May 31st at 2 p.m. Right? And even reviewing this, I was like, wow, what the heck was I doing from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, halfway through the day? I'm like, am I slacking off? But then I read my email and it's like, yeah, there was a long weekend and I took some time off for the long weekend. And yeah, I saw his email. But this is the point to recognize is, number one is honor your business hours. You'll hear me always say, honor your business hours because it's important to set those distinctions. And then when you follow up with people, just be honest. Like for me, and I'll get this, I'll be interested to hear from your feedback, Joe, but like for me, I'm like, oh my God, this is so long, but I was honoring that. And if you notice, it took me a bit to reply. I honored the long weekend and took some time with the family, and other people might think like, oh, well, you kidding me? You're busy. Like that's not a long time at all. But either way, what I want to show you before I turn this over to Gerald real quick is to say, hey, I appreciate your honesty and it's what I wanted. And you're ambitious. Sounds like you have a strong vision. Again, I'm going through each point and validating and just showing, hey, I summarizing what I'm reading from that, and now it's a matter of understanding the path, and yes, having a mentor will be helpful. And if you notice, I'm not jumping like, oh, hire me, or like, he asked me the question, how much do you charge? And, would you be open for an interview? And if you notice, I'm not telling him any of that stuff. I'm going to say, I'd be happy to speak with you about how I work and how it could help you. Here's the key. Are you considering hiring a mentor coach like myself to help you? I don't want to assume that just because he said, hey, how much does it cost to work with you, that he's considering it. So I want to ask, are you considering hiring a mentor coach? And I'm saying, wondering why you think now might be the right time for that. And then he responded back on the 6th thread, basically about 4 hours later. So Jared, real quick, I want to honor the time as well as we get into the end, but when I responded back to you this, and we're going into the next thread, your impressions.
Number 5, I had a deeper connection with you because you and I have a lot in common with, hey, family's important. That's why I'm even doing coaching as a business. And when, skip down to the bottom, when you still weren't selling me. Are you considering hiring a mentor like myself to help you? Well, my obvious answer was yes, absolutely. And then you ask another question. Why is now the right time for that coach? So you were kind of qualifying me as a client, and I knew that. So we skipped to 6, and I wanted to let you know I was going in for kind of a job interview type thing. Like, yeah, I'm serious, and I know you're serious as a coach, so I want you to consider me as a client. You had me sold way back at 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. Number 6, I wanted you to know that when I do hire you, I will honor what you tell me, and I will take you serious, and I won't disappoint your Facebook ad. I won't disappoint your audio. I won't disappoint our previous emails. Here's who I am as a client of yours.
Yeah, so really, by my not jumping in too soon, too fast, and taking the time to ask you the questions, and if you will qualify you, it almost gives you to the point where you're at the point of saying like, yeah, I'm very interested. but it makes you kind of like, it feels like it made you want to just be better, or like, well, I want to apply, or I want to work with you, and you're kind of not chasing me, but you're pursuing it versus me pursuing you.
Yes, and from my impression of you so far at 6 is, okay, he's coaching some very important people. He's not just taking everybody that comes through the door and giving all kinds of crazy advice to people. This guy is genuine. So I wanted to live up to your expectations that I want to be one of those important people. You made me feel important in these emails. And you still haven't sold me yet. You just said, hey, if you're in the market to buy a car, I have one, sort of. Not, oh, we can put you in this one and drive it off the lot whether you like it or not.
It's basically like, yeah, well, are you considering buying a car? And if so, why is now the right time to buy a car? I'm not even, you know what I mean? Exactly. So here's the point I want to say, to bringing this towards a close is, he wrote me back, like I said, 4 hours later that day on Wednesday, the May 31st at 6 p.m. And you shared the information here. At the end of the email, and I deleted it now just for privacy, he put his number. And I noticed that he had his number there. And in the previous emails, he did not have his phone number. And on Wednesdays, my schedule is basically, I've got my group mentoring call from 5 to 6:30 p.m. And then I've got a client at the time. I had him from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. So after this was done, and at the end of that day, I'm done. Like, I'm ready to be done and just relax and do whatever. And I saw this email come in, and I saw he had his number there. And this is what I teach people all the time is I'm like, oh, I'm going to call this guy. I got to talk to Gerald because I got to see, this is going somewhere. I got to find out what's going on. And this is the qualification process. At this point, I could have very easily replied back basically saying, hey, you know what, Gerald, it sounds like, the timing is right and you're considering, working with someone like myself. The next step I would say is, hey, let's set up a complimentary session. And it would give you a chance to, get a feel for how we could work together, blah, blah, blah. And if at the end you feel great, then you decide you want to hire me and you see value, we can go over the options and we can go from there. How does that sound? Probably would have been like, great, Jeff, let's schedule it, set it up, go. But what I like to do where possible is call the person, right? So I called you up, and it was probably like around 7:45 p.m. that night. And risking it being late necessarily, you know what I mean? I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to call him. And if he answers, he answers. If not, if not. Called you up. Just tell me real quick, like, what did that do? Like, coming from this email and then me calling you that night, we had a great conversation. We probably talked for about 30 minutes.
At that point, when you called, we were just pulling in the parking lot. We were having a late dinner at a restaurant. Just pulling into the parking lot, and the phone rang, and I had already, this is things you don't know either. I had already saved your number in my contacts as Jeffrey St Laurent. And just as my wife was pulling in, Jeffrey St Laurent pops up, and I got the Christmas morning look on my face and said, it's him. You have to go in without me. She said, baby, let's go eat. And I'm like, no, this is more important than you even know. So I sat in the car. There was a waiting list anyway to eat, but I sat in the car and talked to you. But I was so excited that you took time. I think if you would have called me at a decent hour, 1 or 2, I wouldn't have taken you as serious as when you called me later.
Oh, interesting.
So for me personally, the late hour was like, okay, I'm serious about this guy as a client, and that made me feel like, okay, I have been qualified to work with Jeffrey.
You see, this is why I love these calls, because what you shared right there, most people would think like, oh, I don't want to call someone too late. And of course I thought of that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. Great sharing that perspective that because it was later than, quote, normal business hours, it showed how serious I was, which is great perspective. So we had a great conversation from there. And basically as a result, it was like, hey, just like I would have said before, if I didn't call you, which I typically will if it's possible. And I remember you said, I put my number in there purposely. I'm glad you picked up on that, right? Because you wanted me to call you?
I was hoping, yes.
You were hoping that. Yeah, it's interesting. So I guess those things too is picking up on those things. And honestly, if I had your number earlier, I would have called you earlier. Because I was looking at my thread thinking, I'm like, why didn't I call him like right away? Because this is a type of email that I would call someone on, probably even by 3 or 4, I would have called the person by then. But I didn't have the number. So then if you look at it here, this is the email he sent me, the number 6 at 6:06 p.m. Like I said, I called him when I was done with my day about 7:45 p.m. And then the 7th thread here, number 7, I wrote him back at 8:25 p.m. We were obviously done talking at that point. I said, hey, you know what? He didn't have his calendar on him, and like I said, he was going to eat and stuff. I said, hey, I'll send you a time to schedule our comp session, when we're done, and then just get back to me and let me know what works. So this is just my response, 8:25 p.m. Again, great speaking with you. Free this Friday, 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. Let me know which works. And here's this thing I say, let me know which works best. And once we confirm, I'll send you the details. Looking forward to it. And then basically you responded back that night, number 8, amazing talk with someone who I've never met, but I felt like you have a conversation who have known them forever, and you chose the 2 o'clock time, which is perfect. And here's where it goes from here, right? The next day at 9:04 a.m., so right away. And I remember this is before my workout, because on Thursdays I work out at 9:15, and it's like, boom, let me get back to this. I'll show you my speed of response. If I can respond to somebody, in that time, I will. So I responded to him, and this is my email. For a mentoring client of mine, you'll see this, and this is the form that I give you, so you can use as well. But basically, this is the last step in the qualification, right? It's like, hey, I agree, and this is to confirm our complimentary mentor call. Here's the number to call me at. Block off the appropriate time. And this is the key right here is, hey, here are 4 questions below. Please answer them and get them to me before our call. And if you notice these questions, this is my last step in qualification. And even though, as you can see with some of these questions, what's your motivation for wanting the call? What do you hope to achieve by the end? Have you ever worked with someone before? These questions, we've gone over these to this point, right? But I asked them again because people don't get upset. They're just like, oh, they just get more clarity. And the key question, if you see value in our time together, would you consider hiring me? If so, why is now the right time? And I'm curious, last thoughts, just to wrap it up in the last 5 minutes. Just real quick, when you got this email, what was your thoughts on these questions?
My thoughts to these questions were, I get the chance to explain to someone other than my wife why I want to do this, why I want to coach. Like, I took it more than a mentor-client relationship. I get to tell you so that you can coach me the right way. And again, I was spending money on step 4, but you asked the right questions that made me serious about, okay, I need to answer these very well because this is how he is going to be coaching me. I wanted you to know me because I'm serious about me and I'm serious about my coaching business. So I wanted you to have all the information that I could possibly give you as detailed as possible so that I get the most value of your knowledge and experience.
And that's great input. And this is what I want people to see is with the qualification process, if you will, that I take people through. This is why when I say, 9 out of 10 people will hire me on a comp session and everyone always shows up at this point, it's because of this process that I'm outlining here, is that in the time I'm taking, at this point you can see, how is this guy not going to show up for this call? How is this guy, when I say not going to hire me, it's not like it's in the bag, so to speak. I never think of it that way. But assuming the call goes well and it continues down the same path it's been going on, there's no reason why he wouldn't hire me, right? And that's what I want to show people is taking that time. And then the last thing to wrap this up, if you look at the 10th thread, this is his response, and he wrote back, what day did he write back? 9:04 a.m. I sent that. He wrote back, pretty much almost 2 hours after that. You can see the thread, and I could keep scrolling on it. It's a pretty big email that he sent me. But this is the type of email that I get from people when they're at this space because they want to share that. And it just shows you how this is how people will become engaged. This is how it shows you that you have someone who's seriously considered working with you, because they see value in what you do through the process that you've taken them through. And then also because they're serious about what they want to go after, and the timing is now. And that makes for a marriage of a perfect, mentor coaching or coaching relationship. Last thoughts, Gerald, before we wrap this up?
Last thoughts was, I want to thank you for having me on for one, but mainly for taking me from email 1, downloading your free audio, all the way to step 10, where you guided me into a relationship with you. I wanted to be your buddy. I wanted to go out and have coffee with you. I wanted to tell people about you. So you guided me along into trust, and you shared a lot of information without saying, hey, I'm the best. Hey, let me sell you something. You let all your genuine emails and your genuine concern for my coaching business do all the talking.